and one of the publishers that is with us, good friend, and man, I really appreciate that he continues to have me on board doing the Oklahoma State previews. Former Tulsa offensive lineman standout, and an Oklahoma product as well, Austin Chadwick.
What's
Austin,
going on, man? Are you living? You living life? You travel okay?
you know what? This was an interesting time because I did not do a show after July 2nd until the 15th, which was my
Oh,
first show back and was in Arlington. So my wife and I were gone pretty much all but a couple of days during that time. You would love this vacation. Okay, we left the 4th of July, flew out early, connected, got to Pittsburgh, went straight from the Pittsburgh airport to PNC and watched the Cubs whip the Pirates. Watched
mm.
the fireworks on Three Rivers, which was unbelievable fireworks show. Best fireworks show I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I know they probably do more in Washington D.C. or New York, but this was pretty intense for a fireworks show. Like in Edmond, when they fire all these things off at the end for the climax,
Yep,
the end of the show.
yep.
This one started that way and stayed that way, and at the end of the show, you thought you were in a war zone. There were so many shells going off,
Yeah, I did.
and it
I
was
did read something about fireworks shows and about how Oklahoma was nationally one of the most dangerous states in the United States, with more casualties, if you will, from fireworks. And I think I'm pretty proud of that. Aren't you?
well, since I was not in state on July 4th, I'm okay with it because I
Right
wasn't in the
there, you go.
danger zone. I was sitting on the shores of the Ohio and the Allegheny and the Monongahela, watching them fire them off in the middle. But what was cool too was my wife and I watched it from a World War II memorial on the shore, and there were
Ooh,
like 12 World War II veterans that were seated
nice.
in a prominent viewing spot, and they paraded them in right before the show, and it was really patriotic. It was cool. So
Very cool.
next night
Very
we
cool.
had dinner on Mount Washington. But here's the part of the vacation you would like. We left Pittsburgh on the way to Columbus, Ohio Saturday. We stopped in Canton. First time I'd been to the Pro Football Hall of Fame since I was
There you
10.
go.
And
Yeah.
then when we left Canton, by the way, that stadium where they play the Hall of Fame game, which is next to the
Oh
Hall of
yeah.
Fame, it's the home
Yeah,
home
McKinley,
stadium for
McKinley High School
Canton
there. Yep.
McKinley. That stadium is a college stadium now.
Oh,
You
it's
remember they had the
fantastic.
one
It's
game
great.
they had to cancel because of the turf. They
Right.
they
I
put
you know
in
here we went. You remember Union High School went up there, and they played
yeah.
against Canton McKinley about
Hmm.
7 or 8 years ago. We went up for that deal. Took my dad to the Hall of Fame. Um, they do football. I mean, you think of Mazatlan, you think of some of the great Ohio. When we went, the University of Tulsa, when we went up to play Ohio State a couple of years ago, we went up there to Columbus, and how they honor Paul Brown, not just as
Yeah.
one of the iconic NFL coaches and college coaches. He was also a Mazatlan High School state champion coach, and it's a big, big deal. I mean, it is a big deal.
Well,
And so
that's what I
it
did
was
when we left Canton. My wife was the navigator, and I said, pull up Massillon. We're going to Massillon. She goes, why? I said, that's the other half of the equation. I mean, that's the birthplace. They've had, I think it's 29 state
yeah,
champions, and the stadium is Paul Brown Stadium. And
yep,
Austin, the 2 years when I was a kid, I was 9 and 10, and when we lived in Columbus, Ohio, and my English teacher had a Volkswagen Beetle, and he would take a bunch of us, I mean, 4 or 5 kids, we'd pile into this Beetle and go to wherever Whitehall High School was playing. Well, they played at Massillon, and
wow,
I told the kids in the stands, I said, I'm going to play in this stadium. I don't care what happens. I'm going to play in this stadium someday. Well, obviously I never did, but when you go to
right,
Texas, you kind of forget about it. But yeah, being
Yeah,
back
you
there was
put that
really
up.
cool.
You put that up there. I mean, you do. The legends of Odessa Permian High School. Obviously,
Oh
in
yeah.
Oklahoma, we've got Union and Jenks, but we've also got Ada. Massillon that's it. I mean, that is. I mean, it's a big deal up there in Ohio. That's cool, man. That's a cool trip, and the weather was probably a little cooler than it was here. And then you come back and what? Big 12 Media Day smacks you in the face, and
Hmm.
then now we can talk some ball.
Hey, I gotta ask: did the publisher have any influence
Uh-oh.
here? The big
Uh-oh.
guys. The big guys are featured on the cover. I
we
mean, that's
you
Ben Sparks
you'll
from Norman and Andrew Rame. That's
yeah,
pretty good. The big guys.
and me being a University of Tulsa grad, Sparks, after we went off the press, Sparks committed to SMU. And I got to ask an honest question on radio over here in Tulsa. Would this kid have been on your cover if you would have known he was going to SMU? And I said probably not. But yeah, listen, we've got a lot of big guys, a lot of D1 prospects. Offensive line play, especially in Oklahoma, has. You think about some of the people that are doing some training sessions, little areas. You got a great group of people, not only that are head coaches around the state, but also assistant coaches and guys like J.R. Conrad, guys that really work with offensive linemen. Over here in Tulsa, we got a guy, Clint Anderson, that played obviously at the University of Tulsa. He works with a
Yeah.
lot of guys. So it really is. And Andrew Rame, I'm going to tell you this, man. When he was a freshman in high school, I go to a Broken Arrow game, and David Alexander asked me to come over and look at this kid. And good technique, good feet. He looked like he had a young body, but he was big. And I said, man, he said that's a good looking player. He said, yeah, Austin, he's a freshman. And I about lost it. I couldn't believe a kid this young was this technically skilled and athletic. And obviously, Rame is one of the better linemen we have come out of Oklahoma. And of course, sad for OSU fans, the kid recommitted to OU just last week. So, he's Broken Arrow's right tackle. He's a road grader. He can do just about anything you ask him to do. And part of the reason why, they're so effective in the run game, that offensive line that Rowdy Harper coaches over there is really good. And so we put him and we put the Sparks kid from Norman on the cover. Man, Norman's got a really good team this year. And we looked at it all. Cole Thompson's a kid. That's a linebacker type guy. Cade Horton's the quarterback. He's an OU baseball commit. They've got a lot of good players, and so we kind of did a kind of East versus West theme, with all the good players coming out of the west side of the state, and then all the players out of the east side of the state. They're going to hook up, and we're going to figure out who's going to be the best in the state in each class. And it was funny. I even had to call Tucker over there at Stillwater and say, hey, you play in the district on the west side. I'm going to put Gunner on the cover. Is he considered a west side? He said, yeah, you got to put us on the west side. So now we got Gunner Gundy highlighted as one of those west side kids, along with Dominic Richardson, the TCU commit from Bishop McGuinness, the Blake Knoll kid out of Plainview. He's committed to TCU. And then, of course, Ethan Downs from Weatherford, who's going to OU. He's one of the better 2021 kids in the class. And so it's going to be a lot of fun to kind of dive in this year and see who's the best and kind of set up some East versus West matchups.
Well, and when you look at it too, that's the way you went in, because this is the one segment I get asked about the most, because it factors into both the high school prowess and who's going to be good on the high school gridiron, and it also factors into who are the current and the future guys that you want to look at
Right.
in recruiting, and that's the
Recruiting,
Mr.
right.
Football stuff in the beginning, and you went a little different. In fact, it took me a second when I first started looking. I'm like, wait a second, that's a running back. No, that's a defensive lineman, because I was used to position, and you decided to go geographic with that this year.
Yeah, and it was really cool. We like doing different things with the cover, and we really, it is, as far as parity goes, all the way down the classes, you get a good mix of East Side teams and West Side teams. obviously Carl Albert in 5A has, they're really, really good, man. And so they've done well. Bigsby over here in 6A too, the 6A1 stuff that's been over here on the east side for many years. But then you get down into 4A and 3A and 2A. You got teams like Beggs over here on the east side winning 2A last year, and you have Tuttle over there on the west side winning 4A last year. So it was really kind of a cool deal. Not only that, Robert, you're just going to get great East versus West matchups in the semifinals. You're going to get it in the finals, and so that's what we concentrated on, and we're going to kind of pit them against each other. That there's no love lost sometimes between some of those coaches on the east side and the west side. So let's go. Let's put the ball down and play some ball and see which side of the state can put together more champions.
Well, and I really want to stay with the high school stuff, although, I did enjoy looking at. I read Toby's. That was the first thing I read. I read Toby's and John's work on OU and Tulsa, respectively, and I don't know if you notice it, but one of the things I was telling our audience when they read the OSU preview, I try and change up the format to it every year. I've gone position by position. I've gone, big picture, offense, run offense, pass offense. And then this year I just chose to go with, a little different scenarios.
Storylines, it was good. It was really good the way you did it. And that was one of the things I really like with some of it, and we give you guys the freedom to kind of, listen, there's nobody better with Oklahoma or OSU. Why not have the guys that obviously covered better than anybody, and Toby Rowland, he's the voice of the Sooners, and obviously you with your relationship with Oklahoma State for decades now, and you gave us some just great stuff as far as, we get the runaround. We know who's going to be playing what positions. We know all that. But give us some information. Give us what the coaches want to try to get done. Give us the storylines that impact, whether it's newcomers, whether it's trying to bolster back that defensive backfield, whatever it might be. And I like the way you did it this year, Robert. It's a good piece. People will like it. We'll put it out online too after the magazine's been out for a little bit. And I think you hit the nail on the head, obviously, with the new coaches they've got, and then the quarterback situation. And I'm getting asked a lot who's going to be starting over there. And I can't put you on the spot, but I watched this kid Spencer Sanders down in Texas, and he was a gem down there, and everybody loved the kid. He was the Texas Gatorade Player of the Year, and I can't see that kid. He's a good kid. He does things right, and I can't see that kid not developing. I can't see him not working his tail off to get it figured out, to give Mike Gundy the confidence to say, hey, we're going. We're going to go with this kid, and we're going to roll with them. And you go back to the days, and you've covered it a lot, with Sean Gleason taking over this offense. I know Sean personally, and this guy is the real deal. And when any offensive coordinator is new, to be able to rely on a young player that's got years of eligibility left, it's always a very cool thing for that offensive coordinator to be able to play that kid and grow with him, and open up the playbook, as the kid learns more and the game slows down for him. And I think that can be a very dynamic relationship and situation for Oklahoma State if Spencer gives them enough of an excuse to have the confidence to let him go out there. And I think that could be a very cool thing in him running that offense over the next few years with Sean Gleason and just see where it goes, because it's going to be pretty special.
Yeah, and I think it will be. I've said this. I think based on Coach Gundy's comments, I think you're going to see both quarterbacks in the first couple of games, but I'll be shocked. I really will be shocked if it's not Spencer Sanders. And I remember, it was the second or third year with Yurcich that he broke in Rudolph, and it was a guy he recruited. Now the only difference is, Spencer's not a guy Gleason actually recruited. Gleason's first quarterback commitment really is Illingworth. That's going to be in this next class, but this is a guy, Spencer Sanders, that fits everything that Sean Gleason wants,
he's got the skill set. He's got the skill set Gleason has always liked. And you go back to his stuff in the Ivy League and what he likes doing, and you're like, well, there you go. You couldn't cookie cutter a quarterback with the ability you want better than Spencer Sanders. And so, heck, Robert, that might have been part of the reason he took the job, because he knew he was going to have a kid like that. But It's really good. I think Oklahoma State, it should be a lot of fun to kind of see how they, it's just crazy where Mike Gundy's brought this program. Last year everybody considers, hey, they're kind of a down year, in a situation to where you're reloading some positions. Well, they go win 7 games, and now they're, after 3 10-win seasons in a row, hey, let's get back to that. I mean, and it's just, I think it's a testament to where the program has grown, over the past 15 years, and so it is really good to kind of see that. We're pulling for the Cowboys. We hope they do really, really well, and I think they will.
Well, and I'm going to ask you right now. Can you hang with us in the next segment?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, you got me, man.
Okay. Because here's what I want to do. We're coming up on a break, and I want to talk high school, but I have one question for you, and we'll segment the high school to come after the break. But you're a former TU player, started on the offensive line for the Golden Hurricane, had a tremendous career there. And not only does Oklahoma State come over and play Tulsa this year over at Chapman Stadium in the third week of the season this year, but we also had the announcement this is going to go on now for a long, long time, and it's going to be a home and home. Your thoughts from the TU perspective on that series becoming more of a permanent fixture?
Well, anytime you can play, and of course when I played from 2000 to 2003, I got a chance to play against Oklahoma State once. I got a chance to play against OU twice, and then we played Arkansas once. And from the, let's put it this way, from the off the field angle of it, when you talk about the asset of being able to play in Tulsa's eyes, this is how we look at it. It's a big money game. I mean, it's one of those games that the athletic director likes putting on your schedule. It's one of those games that you get into where you can grab a paycheck and hopefully for a good showing and all that stuff. So we'll just call it what it is. And so from our standpoint, how we want to do this and how we want to approach it at the University of Tulsa, do they get, how much are they getting paid or how much are they not getting paid now that it's going to be a home and home type situation? And there are benefits to both. Some people say, well, why don't we just go over to Stillwater every year? And they're going to draw a big crowd and it'd be a lot of fun. But a lot of people say, hey, if you do a home and home, it allows Tulsa the amenities to package up season ticket sales, to do some things to help bolster suite sales and high end sales for their tickets. And so when you get into that, I think it's great. My dad, played at Oklahoma State in the 60s, and they hooked up with Tulsa a couple times. And my dad, to this day, says he's never been on a team that got drilled so hard as they did in 1965 at Skelly Stadium at TU, where Jerry Rome and Howard Twilley scored 65, and they beat the Cowboys 65-13. And so there is that history, obviously, there. We know what we're talking about, and there's nobody that's a Tulsa supporter that tries to claim, any kind of upside against or any kind of dominance towards Oklahoma State or anything like that. We know we're kind of the little brother here, and we get it. But at the same time, we like to compete. And every once in a while, Tulsa is going to have a good enough team to be able to compete. And but I just, regardless of where they play it, Robert, I'm just glad they're going to play it every year. That's a lot of fun, and it makes, you got to give Mike Gundy credit. He's ultimately got to sign off on it with Holder. And so I like that they just said, yeah, let's do it. I mean, we're supposed to beat Tulsa every year. Let's go beat them every year. It's an easy game for fans to get to. It's an easy game. This as well as anybody. There's not near the travel expense heading 60 miles down the road to Tulsa as there is flying out to Oregon or something like that.
I do know that because I've had to make my own plane reservations and travel to Corvallis, Oregon, and yeah, that's not the easiest place in the world to get to. Hey, Austin Chadwick is with us, publisher of the 2019 Oklahoma VYPE Pigskin Preview. We're going to talk high school when we come back. Stay with us. Wasting no time getting back into it with Austin Chadwick, and you can get the Oklahoma Pigskin Preview 2019 version. It's out. It's in the on queues all around, and you can pick that up if you're a high school football fan. I grew up in Texas, and Texas football is the Bible, and I read Austin's letter from the publisher at the top of the magazine, and that's it. This is your Bible for Oklahoma football, high school football, and it's got the colleges in it as well. And Austin joins us now. And I know we're not going to have time to get through every class, but let's try and forge our way a little bit here. Interesting in 6A1. I know it's an East dominated class, and you got Broken Arrow breaking through with their championship last year. Union and Jinx are still in there. Wasso's actually number 2. And I can tell you because I've been by both schools, and you mentioned Norman, Rocky Martin, and then I saw Edmond Santa Fe pretty good in the team camps back in the spring or early summer. There's no doubt in my mind Norman and Edmond Santa Fe are going to be the 2 West challengers, but this is an East game still.
Yeah, and that's it would be one thing if you had a little bit of fall off or a little bit of attrition with the 4 schools over here, but they just continue to develop and get better. And Broken Arrow returns a lot of guys. They got to replace quarterback, a couple of quarterbacks actually, because the Cherry kid would come in running situations. Owasso's going to be a lot better this year, even though they lose Will Keeney at quarterback. Isaiah Jacobs, the younger brother of Josh Jacobs, he's going to be a senior running back. He's highly recruited. They got a lot of kids that are good players. Bill had to play a lot of sophomores last year, so they're going to be good. And then, of course, Union and Jinx are going to be what they typically are. But you're right, Norman's got some high-end guys, and they're developing the program there. A lot more program kids. Edmond Santa Fe is another one that's kind of coming back. Did you see the Tyler Shetron? Is that how you pronounce his last name? The sophomore. He was a freshman last year. This kid's going to be a heck of a receiver. And so there is Norman is probably going to put up the biggest fight, I would think. They finished the season pretty good last year. They returned a lot of guys. And it's at least going to give 6A1 West Side kind of hopefuls a chance. And so, it will probably be same stuff, different year type situation with the East Side over here in 6A1.
Yeah, and let me inform you of something too. In fact, I'm just now looking to see if they put him in the magazine, and they may not have because. The first time he actually showed up was in summer camp because he came straight from the middle school. They have a freshman offensive tackle. This is your next rank, and he is he wears size 17 shoes. He's 6 foot.
There you go.
5'6", weighs 310 pounds, and uncanny. For his age, uncanny agility. I'm used to a guy at that age, even a good kid, having some issues with being clumsy. This kid is not.
Right.
It's going to be an amazing thing to see. 6A2. I can tell you, I've seen Del City in the summer. They got a pair of linebackers that are juniors that are outstanding. They've got a lot of skill and athletic ability. Obviously, Booker T is always going to be good. But I'll be honest, I want your opinion on that. I think we're going to see a rematch in 6A2. I think the 2 teams that played last year at Owasso, Bixby and Stillwater, are on a collision course again.
Yeah, and Stillwater, I remember talking last year, we said they were going to be good. And one of their strengths last year was a really good offensive line. Tucker Barnard, the head coach over there at Stillwater, flat out told me, and I'm an O-line guy, and so are you, and so he would say, hey, we got some good players, and they did, and boy, they had a couple of guys that are going to get a chance to play at the next level, and so they got to go replace some of those guys, but man, the skill is all back. The Bland kid at receiver, that was Gundy's favorite target. And gosh, if he just wouldn't have, I think he cramped up in that state game, and it kind of hurt Gundy a little bit not having him out there every play. The Walker kid has been carrying the load for him for a few years now, and so now you return just about all of your skill. Stillwater's going to be really good. I like Gunnar Gundy. I like the way he's developed. He'll get even better this year, more accurate, and continue to develop his craft. And it's good. It's good for ball in 6A2 when Stillwater is really, really good. And I just like it. A lot of people ought to be excited as they were last year, be even more excited this year because, we all know about the athletes of Booker T. Washington, Muskogee and Rafe Watkins. They return a lot of guys that are going to be in the mix too. But you're right. I mean, we're gonna, I think, get these two teams facing each other again. If they take care of business in the districts, then they won't face each other till the state championship, and you'll get a Bigsby and Stillwater rematch. Now, for people in your area to know about Bigsby, you know them plenty. You played him in the state championship. They return a lot of guys. The Brennan Presley kid, you're going to love him in Stillwater on Saturdays because he is an electric receiver, and he just committed to Oklahoma State. I know you probably talked about it. He's got a little brother that was a freshman last year that's going to be a sophomore. He's a running back. He's going to be a very dynamic player. And any team of Lauren Montgomery's, and he did this at Jenks when he was the O-line coach, they're going to be physically not necessarily physically gifted, I'll say physically prepared, because they work out and they hit the weight room about as hard as anybody. And if you notice, a lot of those program kids at Bigsby, the kids that aren't the high-end D1 kids or even 1AA kids or JUCO kids, they got a lot of guys who are just, their whole life is to play high school football, and they're going to do it, and then they're going to go on to OSU and be a student for the rest of their college career. And they got a lot of these guys that are totally bought in, and that's what Lauren Montgomery has built at Bigsby. And Robert, he's got to build it that way, because the way Bigsby's growing out here in South Tulsa, it's only a matter of time before they get bumped up to 6A1, and he's got to go toe-to-toe with the big boys. And so with that being said, they're going to be pretty strong this year. I don't know if they'll be quite as good as they were last year because they lost a few guys, but they're still going to be every bit as explosive offensively. That young quarterback they have, he's a little guy, but he's good for what they want him to do, and he gets the ball to his playmakers. And so it would be great if we could get that rematch and kind of let Tucker Barnard and his crew and the Pioneers see if they can finish that unfinished business, they like to say. And I think it's good. You know how it is, Robert. When you got a good class or you got a good team and you make it to a state championship game, and man, I mean, it's all that stuff that comes with it, and you didn't quite maybe seize it. Very rare are you good enough to try to get back there, and I think that experience will help Stillwater. They've been through the gauntlet of a playoff race. They've made it to the state championship game. So if they can make it this year, they're not going to be surprised by anything. They've been there, they've done it, and now they can get on par with the experience Bigsby's kind of had for the last 5 years, where they're in it every year. So now Bigsby won't have that advantage. They won't have the experience advantage in a 6A championship game because so many of those Stillwater kids will have been there last year. So that's, I think, what we're all kind of rooting for, because if you look at it, man for man and on paper, these two teams are the two best teams in 6A2.
Yeah, and I knew we wouldn't get very far, but I will say this. We're not going to get to 5A, but obviously Bishop McGinnis with Dominic Richardson and then Brendan Walker,
Yep.
who we've already had a Bedlam tug-of-war recruiting battle over. And then, in Tulsa, you've got Bishop Kelly.
Yep.
And I know I'm excited because I think Zach Middleton, I'm enamored with him. I think he reminds me so much.
He is dude. Listen. This kid is his measurables are not going to jump off the table at you, but you watch him play, and OSU fans are going to love this kid. They're going to just absolutely love this kid. You know what you're going to get so long as he stays healthy in college. He will see the field. He will get on the field one way or another, and he's one of those kind of kids that you're really going to like. And so, you got to give Mike some credit. Just going back real quick to the college side of things, his staff and what Coach Gundy's doing in Stillwater, they're recruiting a lot of Oklahoma guys. Dude, this Choctaw kid that they got to commit, I guess last
Jeff
month,
Roberson.
Yes, and he is a good-looking young man. I'll just say that, and he looks the part. And he is a headhunter. You can look at his huddle tapes. He's a heat-seeking guy, and so from that standpoint, I loved his comments.
And so is the kid from Norman, Cole Thompson. Those two are a lot alike.
A lot alike, and but it was great because the Robertson kid said, he just flat out told us, I don't really care much for OU. Oklahoma State's my dream school, and I'm going, and I'm excited about it. It was just, it's kind of refreshing to see that, a kid that grew up being an OSU fan, and he's like, I'm all in, and let's do this. Let's go beat OSU's tail, go beat OU's tail in Bedlam, and I'm all in on the Cowboys. So, they're doing a really good job of that, and like you said, it gives us great fodder to talk about, with this magazine out. Again, you can pick it up on Q's. We just got those distributed early this week, and whether you're whether you're a Stillwater fan, a Perkins fan, it doesn't matter, Perry, Blackwell, anywhere up there, you can scout your other opponents. You can get all the information on everybody you're playing against, and then you can get some great college stuff. And for the OSU fans, you're going to see a lot of the kids that Mike Gundy's going to sign in 2020, and a lot of kids that Mike Gundy's trying to sign in 2021. So it's a great book. We encourage everybody to go get it, Robert. We always appreciate your help, and maybe you and I can talk again before the season gets kicked off, and definitely the week of OSU Tulsa. We'll get a chance to
there's no doubt. I mean, that
have a little scrum there.
Yeah. Ink that in right now, and we'll get talking too before the high school season starts again. And folks, Austin's right. I mean, I've got a vested interest in that. I write for it, but I use this magazine year round in what I do with recruiting. It's great for reference. The stats from years, I mean, from the last decade or so are in there, so you can go back and reference kids that are playing at the college level now and what they did in high school. It is just, you can't get information as fast on the internet on Oklahoma high school football as you can with this magazine. And I know everybody that does games buys this magazine.
They got to.
Absolutely. It's the magazine. It's kind of like Phil Steele says with football. It's the magazine the experts can't do without. If you're an Oklahoma high school guy, it's the magazine you can't do without. So, again, it's available out there.
If you're covering Stillwater for the Stillwater Pioneer, or if you're doing the games for radio, and just about every school, all the way down to 2A, somebody is doing radio broadcasts of every game. And I'll get more requests from people all over the state. Hey, I do radio for the Alvin Goldbugs. Can I get a magazine and get you on the radio, promote it? And so yes, it's one of those. Yeah. And parents, obviously, it's a keepsake. Your kid's name's in it. I still have my pigskin preview, Robert, from back in 1998 when I played, and my name is in it. And my mom got 2 of them, and so that's kind of how it works. And we have a lot of fun with it. It's 368 teams. Not easy to go get all that information from all those coaches, but we pull it off and we put it all on paper, and we give everybody in Oklahoma at least some form of reference point when it comes to the 2019 football season. And we appreciate your help, buddy. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Hey, I still have my Texas football when I was a senior at old W.T. White with my picture in it. And I told Ellinger, because he's on the cover this year of Dave Campbell's Texas football, I said, I can only imagine what it's like for you to be on the cover, because when I was in high school, I just dreamed and begged that I would have my little picture in the back, and I ended up with one. And I still have a copy of it. So we all like to remember back to the day.
It is.
All right, hey,
it's always free. We appreciate it, buddy.
Austin, we'll catch up with you. Thanks.
You got it.